Hello everyone and welcome to another random bits and pieces segment from my brain, and today, sit a while, for we are playing some more Franchise Hockey Manager 6 as part of the Ottawa Senators. Alright, so I did pull the trigger at the end of the last episode. I said that I was going to try and be aggressive into trading Mike Dunham, and I did just that. Actually, the player that I got is on the screen right now, if you look at open offers. I traded Mike Dunham, well, we can look at this here. So I traded Mike Dunham to Atlanta for Adam Denmarsh. Not the biggest splash. I was offered a very wide array of different players, actually. I hesitated between quite a few trade offers. I was offered a lot of players that are maybe like more defensive-minded forwards. Guys like Wes Walls, for example. I thought about it a little bit. Jay Pandolfo, I thought about it a little bit. The Blues offered me Christian Backman, who is only 22. He's a defenseman. The Oilers offered me Scott Mellenby, who's still a 2-star player. But ultimately, I decided to go with Adam Denmarsh. He's a 1.5-star player. There's two reasons I went for him. He's 27, so he might still be good for a few more years, and he's cheap. And, you know, he's a decent player, so not great or anything, but he's probably going to play on my third or fourth line and bring a little bit of a little bit of size and whatnot. So yeah, so he's the guy that I decided to bring. So I sent I'm trying to pass through waivers Nicholas Hagman for counterbalance here, so that's what we see. And he was on an expired contract, so I sent him a contract renewal offer, and he's only wanting for 100,065. So I felt that it was a pretty decent deal for 2 years. So I'm not committing like until he's 33 or something ridiculous like that. So even if he starts to decline, he's not gonna hurt me too much. So all in all, I'm pretty pleased with that trade. We'll see if he helps us in the playoff and everything. I did think about Scott Mellenby, wanted to bring some experience to the lineup and everything, but I decided to go with Adam Denmarsh after all, because he's kind of the same type of player as Scott Mellenby, I guess, but he's a lot younger. Scott Mellenby is 36 right now, so that made more sense for me to go for Denmarsh. But anyway, so that's the trade I've made. Alright, so we are starting the month of March 2003 with a game against our phantom rivals, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are 29, 26, and 9, and they are third in the East because of their position in their division. They are first in their division, so they occupy the third spot here. So we are 1-1-1 against Tampa Bay this year. Let's get this month underway here. Of course, we still have Yashin that's hurt, so that's not good. And also, as you can see, I fixed the pictures yet again. Really wish they could figure out what's causing that so that I can stop doing it. Alright, so Tampa Bay sending Kevin Weeks and net, and we are going with Tim Thomas. Alright, go Sens go. And we won 3-0. There you go. Nothing like starting with a shutout. Starting the month with a shutout. So we outshot Tampa Bay 35-21. So that's not too ludicrous here. Joe Thornton was the first star. He participated to all the goals with 3 assists. Marianosa was the second star with 2 goals, and Patrick Elias was the third star with a goal. We had 13,807 people in attendance. So Patrick Elias opened up the scoring in the first on the power play from Joe Thornton and Pavel Datsyuk. It was 1-0 Sens after 1. And then nobody scored in the second period. And then in the third, Marianosa scored both of his goals. The first one on the power play from Joe Thornton and Zdeno Chara. And then with 9 seconds left to go in the game, in an empty net from Joe Thornton. Well, look at that. We didn't even use Adam Denmarsh for this game. Oh well, that's okay. I'm okay with him being a def player as long as we win. Doesn't hurt to have competent players to step in when there's injuries, like Yashin. Matt Sundin has recorded 1,000 games played in his career. That's pretty good. Didn't get a point, though, and he did that against Pittsburgh. Oh, Tony Urquis also played in his 1,000th game. Also no point. He did that against the Los Angeles Kings. Scotty Upshall is back from suspension. That's good news for Nashville. Oh, Eugene Melnyk went from very unhappy to just unhappy. So, I guess shedding some salary was the key here. Alright. Financial patience, not at all. Yep, that sounds about right. Team owner, okay. Confidence in GM below average. Yikes. So he doesn't like me. He doesn't have any patience with his money. Oh boy. Thankfully I have that little bucks check. He cannot get rid of me. Haha, take that, Eugene Melnyk. Alright, and Adam Denmarsh signed his contract. We're good. Alright, so now we have a couple days before we face the Leafs at home. Oh, that's no good news for Pittsburgh. Jarome Jagr is injured. He's gonna be missing 2 weeks. Strained calf muscle against the Dallas Stars. Pelkeria's point streak ended at 12 games. Was held scoreless against Atlanta. Alright. Alright, so tomorrow we're playing against Toronto. Alright, so Peter Schmerich is available. I am not going to pick him up. Oh, Stefan Robida is suspended in Columbus. He's going to miss 4 games. Alright, we are about to play the Leafs, and we're gonna do so at home. So, we are 2-1 against the Leafs this year. We did lose in Toronto 2-1 last time we played there. Other than that, we have 2 wins. They are 33-25-8, so decent record for the Leafs. They are 6th in the East right now. So Toronto's starting to turn it around. They were pretty bad for a while, but now it looks like they're starting to turn it around. Of course, it helps that they have Jean-Sébastien Giguère in it, pretty good goaltender. And we're going with some Thomas. And it's another shutout. Will we allow a goal this month? Chances are we will, but still. Alright, so 4-0 win. Oh boy. Yeah, we outshot Toronto 52-9 in this game. Mike Sillinger was the first star. He had a goal and an assist. Bill Guerin was the second star with 2 assists, and Marian Hossa was the third star with a goal and an assist. We were playing at home, and we had 12,268 people in attendance. All right, nobody scored in the first period. Then we scored 3 goals in the second. First one was Marian Hossa on the power play from Daniel Alfredsson and Matt Cullen. Then Mike Sillinger scored from Bill Guerin. And Zdeno Chara from Mike Sillinger and Bill Guerin 3-0 after 2. Then in the third, Matt Cullen scored on the power play from Daniel Alfredsson and Marian Hossa. 4-0 is our final score. Toronto was never really into this game. It scares me to see that there's messages there. It makes me believe I have injuries. I do. Alright, bad news for Ottawa. Anton Volchenkov hurt. Oh, torn rotator cuff. He's out for 4 months. Well, no playoffs for the A-Train. That is not good. And Adam Denmarsh converted to left wing, which was the side he was playing in real life, so I'm okay with that. Also, my left side is weaker than my right side. Alright, A-Train. Now, who do I get back up? So we have Sami Salo, 17 points in 48 games. That's not very good. 20 and 51. 20 and 45. I think I'm going to recall Karel Rakunik. And we will see what happens with that. Alright, so we are going to be playing Pittsburgh in 4 days, so we have some time to think. Okay, and there's been a trade between Minnesota and Boston, where the Wild sends Scott Young to the Bruins for Jarno Kultanen. Interesting trade, really. I guess Boston is probably not going to be making the playoffs, so it doesn't make much sense to get a guy like Scott Young. I was like, maybe they want to push for the playoffs, but they're 10 points back with, like, what, 16 games to go? That's going to be tough for them. Scott Young is okay. He's not a game changer or anything. Oh well. Alright, memorable game for Jukka Entunen in Calgary. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against New Jersey. Good job. Strong night for Joe Sakic, who had 4 assists against Florida. Another good game. Oh, and then there's been a trade between Atlanta and Dallas. Oh, Daniel Corso goes to Atlanta for Matthias Johansson. It's similar players that got traded. I don't think there's anybody that is a clear winner, and the trade deadline is nearing. Darren McCarty put on waivers. Mike Ruzinski, sorry. Also not picking them up. Alexei Zamnov has a great game. He had 3 goals and an assist against St. Louis. Pretty good game for Zamnov. 32 years old, 2.5-star player. Then there's been a trade between Toronto and Montreal. Those don't happen in real life too often. Ooh, Yannick Tremblay goes to Montreal for Rob Scuderi and Steve Passmore. Yeah, I would say that Montreal probably got the upper hand in that trade. Yannick Tremblay is an okay defenseman. Scuderi may become okay. He's a very super crazy defensive defenseman, so he doesn't score many points. But Scuderi's 24 and he hasn't fully developed yet, so we'll see. Alright, no missed time for Brad Tapper in Atlanta, not suspended. Tim Connolly has a good game for the Panthers. He had 4 assists in a tie against Atlanta. Christian Uzelius keeps fans on their feet all night. He had 3 goals. He had a hat-trick in that same game. Alright, we are about to play Pittsburgh. Oh, it's a home and home against Pittsburgh. So we're starting in Pittsburgh, and then tomorrow we're playing at home against them. Pittsburgh's 37-20-11. Pretty good season for them. They are 4th in the East, and we have won both games against them so far this year. Can we push it further? We're going to go to Tim Thomas in net, who's the clear starter this year. And Trevor Kidd's going to be in net for Pittsburgh for that one. Go Sens go. And we lost 3-1, so we did allow goals this month. Game must be broken. Alright, oh, look at those shots totals. Wow. We outshot Pittsburgh 23-22. Wow. Sean McEachern was the first star of that game. He had 2 assists. Marianosa was the second star with an assist. And Scott Fraser, third star with a goal. Alright, so Pittsburgh took a 2-0 lead into the first. And then Pavel Datsyuk scored from Marianosa. It was 2-1 after 1. And Pittsburgh scored again in the second period. It was 3-1. And that was the final score. Nobody would score again. John Leclerc has a great game for Montreal. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against the Kings. Now we're back at home. We're going to play the same Pittsburgh Penguins, who basically have the same record as they did just a minute ago, except with 1 more win, because it happened against us. That win did put them second in the East. They have leapfrogged the Flyers for top of their division. Let's see if we can avenge that loss. So Pittsburgh's going with Bobby Gopfert, and we are going with Ryan Miller. And we won 4-1. Alright, we did outshoot them 44-23. Bill Guerin was the first star of the game with 2 assists. Matt Cullen, second star with an assist. And Magnus Arvidsson was the third star with a goal. We did have 15,588 people in attendance. Alright, so we open up the scoring in the first. Pavel Datsyuk scored his 25th on the power play from Sheldon Surrey. It was 1-0 after 1. Then Brian McCabe scored from Bill Guerin. It was 2-0 after 2. In the third period, Magnus Arvidsson scored from Bill Guerin and Matt Cullen, made it 3-0. Then Milan Kraft scored his first goal of the season for Pittsburgh, made it 3-1. But Daniel Alfredson would seal the deal in an empty net from Patrick Eliash and Marianosa. 4-1 is the final score. Alright, and we are about to play the Boston Bruins, who's been giving us fits all season. So, yep. Let's see here. Oh, I have a couple trade proposals. Dennis Schvidtke suspended in Florida. He's going to miss 2 games. And then, okay. Alright, so San Jose is offering me Tommy Kalarson for Matthias Charnquist. Wow. I'm gonna say no. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but this guy is not going to become anything, so... And the Wild is offering me Nolan Pratt for Andrew Hutchinson. Nolan Pratt's a defensive defenseman. How much are you making? Not a lot. Not a lot. You know what? I'm going to lose Andrew Hutchinson for nothing anyway. I'm going to make this trade. Nolan Pratt could have been called up for Volchenkov when Volchenkov went down. Alright, we made a trade. On screen. Those don't happen very often. Alright, so of course it's not a game changer or anything, but sometimes it's nice to have a guy that can play some defense. Alright, so he's gonna stay in the minors for now, but I have somebody that I can call up if I have an injury, and Jan Mertzig and Pavel Patera are both available on waivers, and I am passing on them. Alright, so like I said, we are about to play Boston. Boston is 10th in the East with a 31, 33, and 5 record, but they have beat us 3 times this year in 3 games. So Boston has been giving us problems. We also have not played them at home at all this year. So what I'm thinking is that we have 2 home games left against Boston, and it was probably one of the teams we were playing 5 times this year. Alright, so let's see if we can change our fortunes against them now that we're playing at home. Alright, so it looks like Denmarsh is playing on the 3rd line right now with Matt Cullen and Bill Guerin. That's a pretty interesting line. Kind of like it. And Boston is going to send Tomáš Vokun in net, and we're going to go back to Tim Thomas. Ah, we won that one 5-1. See, it was the Boston Garden. We just couldn't play there. Wait. Is it still the Boston Garden in 2003? Maybe not. Probably not. Alright, so home victory. We did outshoot Boston 46-20. Marian Hossa was the first star, he had 2 assists. Pavel Datsyuk was the second star with 2 goals. And Patrick Elias was the 3rd star with 2 assists as well. Only 13,061 people in attendance. We took a crushing 3-0 lead into the first. Pavel Datsyuk scored from Marian Hossa and Daniel Alfredsson. Then Bill Guerin from Adam Denmarsh and Zdeno Chara. So it's Adam Denmarsh first point as a Senator. Then Mike Sillinger from Brian McCabe and Martin Avlat 3-0 after 1. Then Adam Denmarsh. Wow. Adam Denmarsh scored on the power play, so seeing some power play time there, assisted by Joe Thornton and Patrick Elias, 4-0 Suns. Then Boston scored their goal, it was 4-1, and then Pavel Datsyuk scored from Elias and Hossa, 5-1 after 2. And that was the final score. Nobody scored in the 3rd. And the Senators are victorious. And there's been a few trades. Suspension over for Stefan Robida. He's back in the lineup for Columbus. Alright, so there's been a trade between the Thrashers and the Islanders. So Jeff Finlay goes to the Islanders for Vladimir Malakov. Wow. So Malakov is going to continue his career in Atlanta. Then there's been a trade between the Kings and the Red Wings. Ooh, the Kings sent Joe Corvo to the Red Wings for Craig Conroy. That's an interesting trade. So, of course, Ottawa Senators fan will remember Joe Corvo. We acquired him twice at 2 different occasions. So he's 25 right now, and he's slowly developing, getting some points and everything. Craig Conroy is an established center. 2.5-star player, 31 years old, but not having a lot of success. Maybe that's going to change in LA. Maybe they're going to utilize him differently. Of course, in Detroit, he's probably playing behind Yzerman and Fyodorov and all of those great players. And Ray Ferraro, because he's in Detroit now. Alright, and then, shortly after Jukka Entonen scored a hat-trick for Calgary, they traded him to the Buffalo Sabres for Dmitry Kalinin. Wow. That's an interesting trade, actually. I remember Kalinin very well playing for Buffalo, so it's going to be weird to not see him there. And then there's been a trade between Atlanta and Columbus. Sean O'Donnell goes to Atlanta for Tony Herkus. Alright, so I would say probably the biggest deal was the Joe Corvo and Craig Conroy deal. That's an interesting deal. I like it. Oh, Marek Malik is available on waivers. Not gonna pick him up. You are probably starting to catch my drift. So yeah, Alexei Yashin should be back on time for the playoffs, which is perfect. Right, and we are about to play the Rangers. Oh, Sasha Gotch is suspended in Carolina. He's going to miss 1 game. Right, we are about to play the Rangers. They are 30, 31, and 10. We are 2-1 against the Rangers this year, and they are 9th in the East. 5 points behind 8th place New Jersey Devils. They have played 3 more games than them, too, so it doesn't look like the Rangers are going to be in the playoffs. It's going to be tough for them. Right, and they are sending the King against us, Henrik Lundqvist, against Tim Thomas. And we won 6-3. We outshot the Rangers 58-20. Marian Hossa was the first star of this game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Pavel Datsyuk was the second star with 2 assists. And Adam Denmarsh is getting points again for his new team with a goal and an assist, 3rd star. 14,089 people in attendance for that one. So Marian Hossa scored the first goal of the game from Patrick Elias and Pavel Datsyuk, and then he scored the second goal of the game, his 30th on the power play from Pavel Datsyuk. It was 2-0 after 1. Then Marian Hossa scored his 3rd goal, completed the hat-trick in the second period on the power play from Adam Denmarsh. So now I pose a question, because it's never been really clear, is that a natural hat-trick or not? Because all of the goals were scored in succession without anybody else scoring, but they weren't scored in the same period. And experts don't all agree on what constitutes a natural hat-trick. To me it is, because nobody else scored in between those 3 goals. But for some experts, they need to all be in the same period as well for a natural hat-trick. So it is what it is. Feel free in the comment to tell me your interpretation of what a natural hat-trick is. Alright, and then, okay, there's been some back and forth for goals in the 3rd period. So Rangers scored first, made it 3-1, and then Adam Denmarsh scored from Sillinger and Avlat. It was 4-1. Then the Rangers scored again, it was 4-2. Then we scored 2 goals, Avlat from Sillinger, and then Zdeno Chara from Souris and Hossa. It was Avlat's 10th, by the way. Made it 6-2, and then the Rangers scored near the end of the game. Made it 6-3, and 6-3 was the final score. Right, so the news is, because there was no stopping Marian Hossa, should make Eugene Melnyk happy. Maybe I should try to trade for Kovalev. Maybe he's going to like me if I do that. Because we all know, as Sens fan, that the reason we got Alexei Kovalev was because Melnyk asked for him to be on the team, even though he was declining in ability and everything. Probably didn't make much sense to get Kovalev, but we got him anyway. Maybe if I get him now, we can get some good years from him. There was no stopping Scott Gomez in New Jersey, who had a hat-trick, 3 goals against Boston. Matt Sundin extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal against Columbus. There was no stopping Matt Cook, who injured 5 players. Oh, sorry, no. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against the Carolina Hurricanes. Sasha Gotch suspensions, and in Carolina, he's back in the lineup. Alright, and we are about to host the Islanders. It's a miserable season for the Islanders. They are not very good at all. Ossi Vananen is suspended in Phoenix. He's going to miss 2 games. Alright, so Tommy Whistlin is available on waivers, and he's not going to be picked up. And as I said, the Islanders are having a pretty tough season. They are 14th in the East, and they have a record of 23-44-3. We are 3-0 against the Islanders this year, and we are about to host them at home. They are sending Rick DiPietro in net, and we are going to Tim Thomas. So the problem with the Islanders is not their goaltending. They have Rick DiPietro and Roberto Luongo in net. The problem is not there. I think the problem is pretty much everything else. Alright, including maybe the coaching? I don't know. Anyway. Oh, it's a tie. We tied that game 4-4 against them. We outshot the Islanders 36-24. Joe Thornton was the first star of the game. He had 4 assists. JP Dumont was the second star of the game with 2 assists, and Marian Hossa was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. The Islanders scored first, and then Daniel Alfredson tied the game on the power play from Derek Morris and Joe Thornton. It was tied at 1 after 1. Then the Islanders scored 3 goals in the second period, took a 4-1 lead, but Nicholas Avlid scored from Marian Hossa and Joe Thornton, and then Marian Hossa on the power play from Joe Thornton and Mike Sillinger made it 4-3 after 2. And then Sheldon Surrey tied the game at 4 from Joe Thornton and Marian Hossa. Nobody scored in overtime, obviously, and 4-4 was the final score. Great night for Joe Thornton, 4 assists. 4-star player, 23 years old. He's going to be good for a long time. I'm going to need to take out the paycheck from him because I will be keeping Joe Thornton. Alright, so Buba Berenzweg is available on waivers. I'm not going to pick him up, though. Dennis Schwidtke is back from suspension in Florida, back in the lineup for him. Brian Leach played in his 1000th game at 35 years old against the New Jersey Devils. Didn't get a point. Leach is still a 3.5-star defenseman at 35. That's pretty good. That sounds also pretty accurate, I would say. Brettel got his 1500th point in his career with an assist against Nashville. And Rod Brennamore got his 500th assist against Pittsburgh. Rod Brennamore is 32 years old, 3.5-star player. Alright, and we are about to play in Detroit, one of the few teams that is better than us in the standings. They are 52-16-3. We did play the Red Wings earlier this year, and we won at home 4-3. Now we're about to play at the Joe Louis Arena, which as a kid I always thought that the Joe Louis Arena was a funny name because where I'm from, in case you haven't figured it out already, I'm French Canadian. Where I'm from, there's like that company that makes like those kind of cakes, if you want, like that you can buy in a box, and they're pretty good. And their staple cake is called a Joe Louis, and you know, to me that always was kind of funny. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. Let's play the Red Wings. By sending Tim Thomas in net, they are sending Chris Osgood. It should be a great game. Two of the best teams in the league are facing each other. And we lost 4-2. We cannot win every game. Look at those shots. Wow. 2020. Nick Lidstrom was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Nicholas Avlid was the second star with a goal. And Vyacheslav Kozlov was the third star with a goal as well. So Detroit scored first in the first period. It was 1-0 after 1. Then we scored twice in the second. Pavel Datsyuk scored against his former team from Martin Avlet and Mike Sillinger. And then Nicholas Avlid scored his 5th from Daniel Alfredson and Patrick Eliash. 2-1 Sens after 2. Then the Red Wings scored 3 times in the third period and ran away with the win 4-2. Alright, we are about to play in Carolina against the Hurricanes. Brian Rolston extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal against Philadelphia. Stéphane Quintal has played in his 1000th game, now playing for the Islanders. 34 years old, Stéphane Quintal, star and a half talent. Got a goal to celebrate. That's pretty good. Right, and we are now playing in Carolina. It's pretty tough in Raleigh for the Hurricanes. They are 26, 34, and 13. and that's good for 11th spot in the East. They are 13 points behind the 8th place Toronto Maple Leafs, so I don't think that they're gonna be in the playoffs this year. We are 1-1-1 against Carolina. Actually, our loss against them was in Carolina. We did lose 2-1 there, and we're playing there now, so let's get revenge. Tim Thomas in net for us. Sean Burke, the good old trusty veteran, in net for Carolina. And we won 6-3. Nice road game. We outshot them 48-19. Bill Guerin was the first star. He had a goal and 2 assists. Magnus Arvidsson was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Sheldon Souray was the third star with 2 assists. So let's see. Nobody scored in the first period. And then Brian McCabe scored his 10th from Bill Guerin and Matt Cullen. Then Carolina tied the game, and then Karel Rakunek scored his first of the season from Joe Thornton and Patrick Elias. It was 2-1 Sen after 2. Then explosion of goals in the third period. Magnus Arvidsson scored his 10th from Bill Guerin and Sheldon Souray. Then Bill Guerin from Magnus Arvidsson, 4-1 Sens at that point. Then former Ottawa Senator Pavel Demitra scored, made it 4-2. Then Dackel scored from Datsyuk and Sheldon Souray. And then Patrick Elias on the power play from Joe Thornton, 6-2. And finally, with 16 seconds left into the game, Joseph Boumedienne scored, made it 6-3, but it was too little too late, and the Sens won 6-3. Elsie Vananen is back from suspension in Phoenix. Alright, and we have a couple of days off before we play against Atlanta. Oh, wow, we have, 5 games left in March. So we are moving along pretty good. Oh, Jarome Iginla in Dallas is suspended. He's going to miss 4 games. 25-year-old Jarome Iginla, 3.5-star player. It's a little difficult for Jarome Iginla this year. The Stars are struggling, so maybe he's not well surrounded. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on Jarome Iginla. Probably would have to give something pretty good to get him. A night to remember for Rick Girard, who had a hat-trick 3 goals against Pittsburgh. Rick Girard playing for the Flyers, 28 years old, 1-star player. Got a hat-trick. Tommy Pettinen is suspended in Anaheim. He's going to miss 5 games. And Alexei Yashin has started to skate again. That's not bad news at all. Get in shape for the playoffs, buddy. Alright, we are... Excuse me. We are playing our next game in Atlanta against the Trashers. Trashers are 14th in the East. Wow. In 2 days, we are playing the 2 worst teams in the East, one after the other. So, first is the Atlanta Trashers. So, 22, 42, and 8. They are 14th. We are 3-0 against the Trashers this year. So, let's get to it. Tim Thomas is in net for us almost every game. He's in net for us right now, and he's going to be facing Curtis Joseph, so Cujo. They're not playing Mike Dunham to face his former team. And we won 8-1. Pretty good game. We outshot them 64-14. Zdeno Chara was the first star of that game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Pavel Datsyuk was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Patrick Elias, third star with 2 assists. So Derek Morris opened up the scoring in the first on the power play from Daniel Alfredson and Pavel Datsyuk. It was 1-0 Sens after 1. And then Derek Morris scored his second goal of the game from Brian McCabe and Mike Sillinger. And then Andreas Dackel from Zdeno Chara and Daniel Alfredson. It was 3-0 Sens at that point. Kelly Johansson, former Ottawa Senator, scored shortly after that. Made it 3-1, gave some hopes to the Trashers. But then we would score 3 more goals before the end of the second. So Chara from Bill Guerin and Magnus Arvidsson. Joe Thornton from Chara and Adam Denmarsh. Marian Osa on the power play from Joe Thornton, 6-1 after 2. And then in the third period, Adam Denmarsh scored his 10th on the power play from Patrick Eliash. And finally, Pavel Datsyuk from Marian Osa and Patrick Eliash, 8-1 after 3. Oh, Niklas Sundstrom is available on waivers. I am not picking him up. Suspension for Dallas, Steve Ott, who's going to miss 9 games. Wow. Look at that. Steve Ott has 3.5 star potential at 20 years old. Alright, and we are now playing in Florida. So Florida is the worst team in the East. They are 22-44-8. We are 2-1 against Florida. They did beat us once at home, 5-3. So hopefully it does not happen again. We're probably sending... No, still going to Tim Thomas. I'm going to face John Van Beesbrook. And we won 3-1, so not as shattering a win as the night before, but it's a W nonetheless. And we outshot them 44-14. Magnus Arvidsson was the first star. He had a goal and an assist. Christian Uzelius for Florida was the second star with an assist. And Matt Cullen, third star with an assist as well. Alright, so Magnus Arvidsson opened up the scoring in the first from Brian McCabe and Sheldon Souris. It was 1-0 Sens after 1. Nobody scored in the second, and then in the third period, Daniel Alfredson scored his 25th from Zdeno Chara and Patrick Eliash, and then Bill Guerin from Matt Cullen and Magnus Arvidsson made it 3-0, and with 8 minutes and 1 second left to go in the game, Gregory Campbell scored his first of the season on the power play to prevent Tim Thomas from getting a shutout. 3-1 was the final score. Zygmunt Palffy extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had an assist against the Devils. Brendan Morrison with the Rangers is suspended. He's going to miss 7 games. And so is Steve Staios for 5 games. So the Rangers got 2 suspended players in the same game. Brendan Morrison and Steve Staios. And it's 5 and 7 games. So what did they do to deserve so many games? I don't know. Red light stays on for Vincent Lecavalier, who had 3 goals and an assist against Phoenix. Pretty good game for Vincent Lecavalier. He's 22 and he's a 4-star player now, so pretty much grown into his own. So he's going to be pretty good for several years here. Him and Brad Richards and Tampa Bay are probably going to be getting a lot of points. All right, we are about to play the Avalanche at home. Alright, so Gaborik in Minnesota is not suspended. Alright, playing the Avalanche. So we are a little bit better than them. They are still pretty good, though. They are 46-20-9. So we are about to play them. We did play them in Colorado earlier this season and had a tie 3-3 against them. We could not find a victor in that one. Now let's see if we can win this one. They are sending Craig Billington in net. We are going to Tim Thomas. And we won 6-3. Pretty good convincing win there. We did outshoot them 54-19. Oh, that's true. They do have Peter Forsberg. That's hurt. I remember that. So Sheldon Souris was the first star of that game. He had 2 goals. Zdeno Chara was the second star with a goal as well. And Patrick Eliash was the third star with a goal and an assist. We had 15,317 people in attendance. Eugene Melnick thanks each of them for the dollars spent at the arena. So we open up the scoring in the first. Sheldon Souris scored from Pavel Datsyuk. 1-0 Sens after 1. Then Sheldon Souris scored again, short-handed, from Mike Sillinger. It was 2-0 at that point. Then the Avalanche scored twice, tied the game at 2. And then Zdeno Chara scored his 15th from Pavel Datsyuk, made it 3-2. Marian Hossa scored from Patrick Elias and Joe Thornton, 4-2 after 2. And then Milan Hajduk made it 4-3, gave some hope for Avs fans, but then Nicholas Avlid scored from Mike Sillinger and Karel Rakunek, and Patrick Elias scored his 30th from Joe Thornton. 6-3 is the final score. Zygmunt Palffy extends his assist streak to 9 games with 2 assists against Chicago. Alright, and in a couple days we're going to go ahead and play against Washington. We have 2 games left in March. Oh, Travis Scott is available on waivers, and he's going to stay there. No further discipline for St. Louis Michael Andzus, 26 years old, 3-star player Michael Andzus, not suspended. And in that same game, Brett Hull scored his 800th goal. It was against the Wild. Jarome Iginla is back from suspension in Dallas. That's pretty good. Suspension for Colorado's Adam Foote. He's going to miss 6 games. 31 years old, 3-star defenseman. Very defensive defenseman, one of the very good ones that in that era for sure. Alright, about to play the Capitals. We are 2-0 against the Capitals this year. They are 28, 45, and 4. That's good for 12th in the East. I mention it every time I play the Capitals, but the Capitals have been bad since I started this playthrough. We're in year 11 now, and they are still bad. They just cannot figure it out, and they're wasting all of Olaf Kolzig's career. He's a good goaltender. They just couldn't build around him. So Olaf Kolzig's going to be in net for Washington. Look at that, 921 save percentage. That's good. I mean, that's not his fault. He's probably all alone. Him and Sergei Gonchars are probably all alone. So Kolzig in net for Washington. We're going with Sam Thomas. We did win both games against the Capitals this year. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Look at that. I'm going to sim to end. This is not a game of much importance, so I'm not going to go through watching it all. I'm sorry. Yes. And we won 4-0. That's pretty good. Alright, so 4-0 is the final score against the Washington Capitals. We outshot them 39-11. Joe Thornton was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Pavel Datsyuk was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Magnus Arvidsson was the third star with an assist as well. 16,204 people were in attendance for that game, which is weird to me because that's like the highest number I've seen for this month, and we've played much better teams. So, I don't know. Maybe it was a Saturday or something. So Daniel Alfredson opened up the scoring in the first from Magnus Arvidsson and Brian McCabe, and then Joe Thornton scored his 25th on the power play from Adam Denmarsh, and then Joe Thornton scored again on the power play from Pavel Datsyuk. It was 3-0 after 1, and then in the second, Pavel Datsyuk scored his 30th on the power play from Chara and Thornton. 4-0 was the final score. Schmerich is yet again available on waivers, and yet again I am not picking him up. Zygmunt Palffy extends his assist streak to 10 games with 2 assists against the Leafs. All right, and last game of the month is going to be in Montreal against the Habs. Montreal's pretty good this year. They are 43, 26, and 9th. That's good for 4th in the East. And we are 3-1 against Montreal this year. Let's see if we can make it 4-1. 4-1. Tim Thomas in net for us, as usual. Patrick Roy in net for Montreal. Go Sens go. And we won 5-2. We outshot Montreal 44-25. Magnus Arvidsson was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Daniel Alfredson was the second star with an assist. And Pavel Datsyuk, third star with a goal. Alright, so Pavel Datsyuk opened up the scoring in the first from Magnus Arvidsson and Daniel Alfredson. It was 1-0 after 1. And a bunch of people got penalties in the second period. So nobody scored in the second, and then a bunch of goals in the third. So Magnus Arvidsson from Derek Morris, then Marian Osa scored his 35th from Patrick Eliash and Sheldon Surrey. Then Montreal scored. It was 3-1 Sens at that point. Adam Denmarsh scored on the power play from Joe Thornton and Martin Havlat, 4-1 Sens. Then Scott Thornton scored for Montreal, made it 4-2, and then 9 seconds later, Chris Phillips scored his first of the season from Matt Cullen, made it 5-2. That was the final score. Henrik Zetterberg extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal against St. Louis. Right, so there's still a couple days to sim through. We're done for the month, but it's the 30th today. Craig McDonald and Craig Darby are available on waivers. Not picking them up. Zygmunt Palffy's assist streak ended at 10 games. It was held scoreless against the Devils. Alright, and one more day to sim here. Thrasher is considering coaching change with a handful of games to play in the season. Doug Wilson may be out. Yeah, he had like that fit that he threw earlier in the season, so maybe that's part of what's going on too. Yeah, Jason Spezza is going to be ready soon. I'm gonna need to make decisions. Big month for Ryan Smith and Chris Osgood, who were both the player of the month in their respective categories. Alright, so we are still first in the East. 10 point. Well, we are guaranteed to finish first in the East. There's 3 games left to play for most teams, and we have a 10-point lead. So let's see who we are facing. Well, we are more than likely facing the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. If Toronto was to lose all of their remaining games and that the Rangers were to win all of their remaining games, we might face the Rangers instead. And if the Devils were to lose all of their remaining... that's true as well. We may face the Devils as well if New Jersey loses all of their remaining games and Toronto wins all of their remaining games. We might face the Devils instead. So I would say there's about a 98% chance we're going to face the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm no stat expert and I didn't run that in my head, so if you count it with a calculator, feel free to correct me, but I would say the odds are we're going to be facing the Toronto Maple Leafs on that one. What does it look like in the West? A lot tighter in the West. Like position 7 to, I would say 7 to 11 could change. So as it stands, Detroit is first, Edmonton, Phoenix, Colorado, Vancouver, Columbus, St. Louis, and Anaheim. So Columbus is doing good again. And who's the worst team in the league? 54. Worst team in the league is the Chicago Blackhawks, actually. They're gonna need to figure it out over there. That's weird to see. Well, I guess not. The Blackhawks did suck for a while around that time in real life, too. Alright, let's look at stats. Ooh, Joe Thornton might be a 100-point scorer. He has 96 points in 78 games. And then Patrick Elias has 79 in 77. Datsuk 71 in 79, Osa 68 in 77, Sheriff 58 in 79, Alfredson 58 in 76, Sheldon Sorry 53, and it starts to dwindle down from there. So pretty nice looking stats there. Zdeno Chara is a plus 60, and then I saw Sheldon Sorry at plus 70. Wow. We're approaching dangerously Larry Robinson's plus 1 million or whatever it was that he had that 1 year. Like plus 100 and something, I think that he had. Something ridiculous. Alright, now let's take a look at the stats in the league. So Jaromir Jagr and Owen Nolan are both the best goal scorers with 41 goals each. I don't think anybody's going to get to 50 this year. It doesn't look like it, at least. Unless one of them scores 9 goals in about 3 games. I don't think it's going to happen. And then Joe Thornton is the best passer in the league with 70 assists. That's 6 more than Joe Sakic. And Joe Thornton is the best scorer in the league with 96 points, 3 more than Joe Sakic. So we may have our first player winning the scoring race for playing for us. That would be cool. Oh yeah, Sheldon Sorry at plus 70. He might win the Norris at this point. I mean, he also has decent stats. I mean, he does have 53 points. I mean, Lidstrom has 65 points, so that's not that much more. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Alright, so it looks pretty good. So, yep, prepare for a Battle of Ontario for the first round of the playoffs. That's more than likely who we are going to face. The Toronto Maple Leafs, that is. And then maybe they can become rivals, which would make a lot more sense than Tampa Bay, which I don't understand why the game decided that we had a rivalry with them. So, I'm going to go ahead and save my game, and you know the drill. I obviously want to thank you for tuning in, as usual. And if you've liked the video, feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment, all of the above, none of the above. You do as you please, as usual. And until I roll this game again, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.